is asking, good morning, Mr. Cox. In the latest election, you weren't chosen to be the caretaker for Kayaks Martinique, even though you were given more votes by the NNP Kayaks than Kindra, but she was chosen by the Prime Minister to be the caretaker anyway. Why would you think you will be the best person for the South, given what happened in Kayaks last election?
Yes, we did have a process, a democratic process, open process, in terms of selecting the caretaker for Kayaks, and eventually Kindra emerged, and for a number of reasons. And I say this, Dr. Bubb, that when you're in an organization, sometimes the best person to do something depends on everything. You take everything into consideration, and you look at the organization as a whole. And the decision to move forward with Kindra was not a decision from me or selfishness or for anybody else, but it was a decision of the party at the time. It was the best decision, and I supported it wholly. I supported Kindra throughout, and that process has landed me an opportunity to be in Grenada. So sometimes what one may perceive as a disappointment in itself presents an opportunity otherwise, and that is how one of the things that that is how I live, and that is how I accept life and how it goes at times.
But Senator Cox, I'm going to press you here on that question. Was there a democratic process in the NNP Kayaks constituency that said that they wanted you to be the caretaker for that constituency, but that process was overruled? I'm just trying to understand what that process played out like.
Well, the process had to do with, well, of course, there are going to be scientific, unscientific polling. There are going to be feedback from the people, and myself, Senator Steele, Minister Stewart, we were all vying to be the caretaker. And in those assessments, yes, and the Prime Minister did also openly indicated to the National Executive that when we would have done all this assessment, Cox would have emerged. But there are a number of intricacies in terms of moving forward with the party, the work of the party, and governance, of course. And it would be prudent for us to make a decision as to how we're going to do this. And I don't want to go into the details. And one may think that it is something, bad, but it wasn't anything. It was more about the functioning of governance, and also for the party, and a number of intricacies, and which we had a lengthy discussion on. And I understand, and you see, that is what leadership and maturity is about, in terms of being able to function as a party, that sometimes you have varying views, varying desires. But once you think about the institution as a whole, you have to make those decisions. And maybe that's the reason why we don't find ourselves having the kind of rumblings as other organizations may have suffered. Yes.
Well, perhaps. One can say that probably you keep your rumblings on the wraps, right?
Well,
you're probably very good
it's
at
not
doing
about
that.
It's not about keeping on the wraps. Of course, you're going to have differences in opinions and approach. That is understandable and that's common. But at the end of the day, you come up with a consensus decision in terms of ensuring that whatever decision you take is done in the interest of the institution and the organization, and that is how you serve.
So the next 48 years, the underlying emphasis of the total transformation and development of Grenada is to see the building out of all the various economic sectors, to include the digital economy, that would impact the development of Grenada, particularly for young people. If you go back and you look at what the GLP was, it was the GLP that reduced the voting age to 18. It was the GLP. If you look from that period, from the GLP to now, we have only built 3 new schools. The junior high school program, in terms of the GLP, built 28 schools in a rapid order. So the foundation of the educational system is still from inherently from the Grenada United Labour Party. The Happy Hill School was built, and I think the Wester Hall Secondary School was added since, and I think there was a third. But in terms of the real educational infrastructure of Grenada, it's what was built on. So every successive government comes with the continuity of operation. A lot of the things, the airport is an example. The foundation for the airport and the plans were already in place. It was easy for the NGM and Maurice Bishop to be able 6 months afterwards to get the airport project done because the feasibility studies were already done by the Canadians.
What happened with the abolition of slavery in 1838, and gradually these islands becoming less and less important, and the socio-economic conditions of the people not improving after the abolition of slavery, the ground was, in a sense, laid for that. And you can really go back to the 1930s, 1934 onwards, when a series of, well, in fact, even before then, but you can take 1934 as a starting point, when there was great unrest, basically broke out in the Caribbean, Jamaica, Trinidad, even Barbados, which then led to the British sending Lloyd Moyne, and there was the proceedings of the Moyne Commission that sat from 1938. And essentially, coming out of that commission was a decision by Britain that they would slack off these islands. If you read the literature from the time, even from the words of Lloyd Moyne, they spoke of basically the Caribbean region being a drain on the British purse, and it was even more so it was brought into sharper focus by the challenge of the World War. So what happened is that from the 1940s, Britain basically took the decision to slack off these territories. They'll grant adult suffrage, and then it was a progression. So by the time you had adult suffrage in Jamaica in 1944, Trinidad 1946, and what would have happened is that the upheavals in Grenada in 1951, which were led by Eric Gary, really created the conditions for the implementation of decisions that were already taken. So as to basically continue that process of slacking off these islands. And one could say that process culminated in 1974 with independence.